Welcome to our deep dive, everyone. Ready to explore the history of U.S. coins?
It's a fascinating story, yeah.
We're going to find out how those everyday pennies and dimes evolved from, well, let's be honest, a pretty wild mix to the system we use now.
A journey from chaos to order, you could say.
Exactly. And to guide us, we're using an excerpt from the U.S. Mint's own website.
Straight from the source. History of U.S. circulating coins.
But we're not just going to list dates and facts. Or
Oh, no, we're going deeper than that.
This is all about the why behind the what.
The how and the why, absolutely.
So, to kick things off, imagine this. It's colonial America.
All right.
Try to buy something, you reach for your wallet.
Yeah.
No neat dollar bills. Instead, it's a jumble of, well, everything.
Oh, I can read it.
Spanish milled dollars, German thalers.
Wow, a real mix.
Even bits of coins that look like they've been chopped up.
Sounds confusing.
It was. But those Spanish milled dollars, they were the stars.
Why those?
They had consistent silver content.
Ah, so you knew what you were getting.
Exactly. Unlike some of the other, shall we say, questionable coins floating around.
Makes sense, so they were the most trusted.
So trusted that people literally cut them up to make change.
Wow, that's different from swiping a credit card.
Talk about a far cry from today. So how did we get from this coin chaos?
Right, from that to what we have now.
Get a unified system.
Well, after the Revolutionary War, things got even more complicated.
Oh.
How so? The Articles of Confederation gave each state the power to make their own coins.
Oh, so like each state had its own currency.
Pretty much. You can imagine the logistical nightmare.
I'm trying to picture a coin from, say, Massachusetts.
Go on.
Could have a totally different value in Virginia.
You got it. Trading across state lines must have been a headache.
A major headache. It sounds like a recipe for, well, more chaos.
It was clear a national system was needed, and fast.
And that's where the Fugio cent enters the picture.
That's right, 1787, the first nationally authorized coin.
The Fugio cent, now that's not a name you hear every day.
It's a piece of history, that one.
What made it so special?
Well, think about it. The newly formed nation needed a symbol of unity.
I see, something to bring them together.
And the Fugio cent did just that.
How so?
It had a sundial for progress and a chain with 13 links.
One for each of the original states.
Precisely. It was all about symbolism, you see.
It's amazing, those tiny coins packing so much meaning.
They were sending a message.
A message of unity and a new beginning.
Exactly. But then the Constitution came along and things get even more interesting.
The Constitution sparked a new debate.
Oh yeah, about a national coinage system.
And that leads us to
The big one, the Coinage Act of 1792.
a turning point, I'd say.
Absolutely. This act created the United States Mint.
In Philadelphia, right?
That's the one, the birthplace of U.S. coinage.
The very foundation of our system.
And with the mint came the decimal system for U.S. currency.
Dollars and cents. The system we still use today.
It seems so obvious now, but back then...
It was revolutionary. But did they totally reinvent the wheel? I mean...
You're thinking about the value of the dollar.
Yeah, did they just come up with it out of thin air?
Actually, they were pretty clever.
What did they do?
They pegged the U.S. dollar to, you guessed it, those Spanish milled dollars.
So they were still the standard.
It provided a sense of continuity, you see.
Familiar territory.
Exactly. And those Spanish milled dollars, even though they weren't officially U.S. coins,
Right. They weren't from the mint.
they played a huge role in shaping our monetary system.
It's like their legacy lived on.
Yeah.
Okay, so the mint is up and running.
Mm-hmm.
What were those very first coins they produced?
The year is 1793, and the mint delivers 11,178 copper cents.
Wow, imagine the excitement.
The beginning of a new era.
But those early cents, weren't they a little,
Unconventional.
that's putting it mildly,
Well, they were massive, for one thing.
bigger than a modern quarter?
You got it. Not exactly pocket-friendly.
And that image of liberty.
Ah, yes, the flowing hair liberty.
Let's just say it wasn't universally loved.
Some found it a bit, shall we say, startling.
I think I saw a meme about it once.
And then there was the chain on the reverse, meant to symbolize unity.
What was wrong with the chain?
Some saw it as a symbol of slavery.
Oh, wow, a completely different interpretation.
It led to a redesign pretty quickly.
It seems those early days were full of challenges.
Challenges and controversies. It wasn't all smooth sailing.
So they had the designs, eventually, but getting those coins out there,
That was another hurdle.
what were some of the big issues they faced?
Producing enough coins, for one.
Even with a brand new mint.
Even then. Especially those silver and gold coins.
Why was that? I thought those would be the premium ones.
You'd think so, right? But they weren't circulating as they should.
Why not?
This is where it gets a bit complex. It all comes down to bimetallism.
Okay, bimetallism, hit me with it.
So the Coinage Act of 1792, it set a ratio for silver and gold.
15 ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold, right?
You know your stuff. But here's the catch.
There's always a catch.
That ratio didn't match the market value of those metals.
So a U.S. gold coin could be worth more elsewhere.
Exactly. In Europe, you could melt it down, trade it for more silver.
People were literally making a profit off of U.S. coins.
It was happening. So those early gold coins are super rare today.
Because they were melted down or shipped overseas. Makes sense.
And the silver dollars, same story, vanishing into trade or hoarded.
So we've got a shortage of small change. Gold and silver coins are doing disappearing acts.
Yep.
And the mints struggling to keep up. What's a new nation to do?
Congress had to think outside the box.
What do they try?
They stopped making some coins, adjusted weights, even tried to change that gold to silver ratio.
A lot of trial and error, it seems.
You could say that. But
Right.
then new tech came along.
New coining technology.
Exactly. It boosted production, and then they opened branch mints,
Across the country.
increasing output even further.
So they were constantly adapting and improving.
Always trying to find solutions.
And finally, in 1857,
A big year.
they banned foreign coins as legal tender. A win for the U.S. Mint.
It was a long road to get there, but they did it.
What a journey. From that mishmash of foreign coins to a unified national system.
A remarkable transformation.
It's amazing how much happened in those early decades.
It really shows the complexities of creating a stable currency.
We've covered a lot of ground already, from those early Spanish milled dollars
The foundation, you could say.
to the birth of the mint and those challenges of bimetallism.
A lot to unpack.
But we've only just begun. We've only touched on those early coin designs.
Oh, there's so much more to explore there.
Stay tuned, because when we come back,
We're diving into the evolution of those iconic images.
and the stories behind them.
Welcome back to our coin journey.
We've covered the early struggles and the birth of the mint.
Quite a journey, yeah.
Now, I'm really curious about those iconic coin designs, those images.
They're more than just pictures, that's for sure.
What do they represent? Where do they come from?
Well, those early designs, they give us a glimpse
A glimpse into the past.
into the ideals, the hopes of a brand new nation.
It's fascinating to think about a tiny coin carrying so much weight.
Each one tells a story
A story about America.
about its values, its aspirations.
And those designers, they knew the power of symbolism.
They were masters of their craft, no doubt.
They weren't just making pretty pictures.
It was more than aesthetics.
It was about crafting visual stories.
On a tiny canvas, you could say.
A metallic canvas. So let's start with Lady Liberty. She's everywhere.
She was a star for over 150 years.
A symbol of America, I guess.
Of freedom, of liberty, the core values.
The foundation of the nation.
Exactly. And her style, it evolved over time, didn't it?
Yeah, I've noticed that she's not always the same.
One of the earliest, the flowing hair liberty.
From 1793, the first sense.
That's the one. Remember we talked about her hair, her expression?
A bit controversial.
Not everyone was a fan, let's just say that.
But she represented a break from the past.
Those old stoic images of monarchs on European coins.
So she was a liberty for a new era.
Full of energy, movement, change was coming.
It's like she was saying, we're doing things differently now.
Exactly. And then you have the draped bust liberty, more reserved, stately.
She looks ready to lead a revolution.
She definitely projects strength, determination. You can feel it.
But wasn't she usually with other symbols too?
Right, like the liberty cap. Remember we talked about that?
The symbol of freedom from oppression, right?
Powerful image, especially for a nation just fighting for independence.
Makes you think about what it really meant to them.
And then there's the seated liberty, mid-19th century.
Oh, I know that one. She's always sitting down.
Holding a shield, usually.
The Union Shield, I think.
That's the one, representing national unity.
And the Liberty Cap on a pole, right?
Yes. Freedom, front and center.
It's incredible how they packed so much meaning into those tiny spaces.
It's a testament to their skill, their artistry.
Communicating complex ideas through design? Amazing.
It's visual storytelling at its finest.
So Lady Liberty, she dominates for over a century.
But then things change.
When did the presidents show up?
Early 20th century, things start to shift.
I'm guessing it starts with Lincoln.
You got it.
Ah.
The Lincoln cent, 1909, a big change.
Replacing the Indian head cent, wasn't it?
It was a bold move, putting a president on a coin.
Why Lincoln, though? What made him the first?
Well, think about it. 1909 was the centennial of his birth.
Ah, A way to honor him.
The man who led the nation through the Civil War.
Preserve the Union, a pivotal figure.
And the Lincoln cent, it was a hit.
Paving the way for others, I'd say.
Exactly. It opened the door for presidents on coins.
So who joined the club?
Well, you got Washington on the quarter, 1932.
Okay, so he's on the quarter.
He replaced the standing Liberty design.
Another change.
And then came Jefferson on the nickel, 1938.
Nickel, got it.
Then FDR on the dime, 1946.
Makes sense. A president on every coin almost.
Kennedy on the half dollar, 1964. And Eisenhower on the dollar, 1971.
Wow, a whole presidential lineup. It's like a history lesson in your pocket.
You could say that. And most of them chosen for specific reasons.
Like anniversaries, milestones.
They tied the designs to historical events, figures.
So it wasn't just random. There was thought behind it.
A lot of thought. Every choice had meaning.
Okay, we've talked about the head side.
The obverse, yeah.
But what about tails? Those eagles, they're everywhere.
Ah, the majestic eagle, a classic symbol.
They've been there from the start, haven't they?
From the very beginning, a symbol of national pride, power.
So it's more than just a bird.
It represents America, its strength, its majesty.
Usually with its wings spread, right?
Often, yes, holding an olive branch and arrows.
Those must have some meaning, too.
Oh, absolutely. The olive branch, it represents peace, diplomacy.
So it's not just about strength, it's about...
balance, finding peaceful solutions.
And the arrows they represent.
The nation's willingness to defend itself.
If necessary, right?
Right.
So the eagle, it embodies that duality.
The desire for peace, but the readiness to fight.
All that in one image. Powerful.
A testament to the power of symbolism.
Before we move on, what about the buffalo nickel?
Ah, a unique one, that's for sure. Introduced in 1913,
So different from the others. Why was that?
the sculptor, James Earl Fraser, he had a vision.
What was he going for?
He wanted to celebrate the American West, the native inhabitants.
And he did a great job. That bison image, it's iconic.
It evokes the frontier, the spirit of the West.
And on the other side, a Native American.
A composite of chiefs he'd met, they say.
So it was a step towards more diversity on coins.
Acknowledging the nation's heritage, its complexity.
It's amazing how those coins reflect so much.
Not just economics, but ideas about identity, symbolism.
It's like a mini history of America etched in metal.
A story passed down through generations.
We've seen how those designs evolved. But what about those small details?
Those tiny symbols, often overlooked.
That must have meaning too, right?
Oh, they do. They're full of hidden messages waiting to be decoded.
We're back, ready to uncover those hidden messages on U.S. coins.
It's all about the details, those tiny symbols.
Most of us probably don't even notice them.
But they're there, packed with meaning.
It's like a secret code right on our money.
A code waiting to be cracked.
So let's put on our detective hats and see what we can find.
Let's start with one we've mentioned a few times, the Liberty Cap.
That's the one that looks like a...
A soft, floppy hat, usually with a little point at the top.
Right. It's on a lot of coins.
It symbolizes freedom, liberation. It's an ancient symbol.
Ancient, like Roman times ancient.
You got it. In Rome, they gave it to freed slaves.
So it represents freedom from oppression. But how does that connect to U.S. coins?
Well, think about the ideals of the new nation. Liberty, self-governance.
Those core values,
The
definitely.
Liberty Cap reinforces that. It's a visual reminder.
It's like a tiny monument to freedom right there in your pocket.
Exactly. And then you have the wreath, another classic.
Oh yeah, I've seen those, usually circling something.
It represents victory, achievement. Think of the Revolutionary War.
A hard-won victory, a new nation born.
The wreath reminds us of that, the struggles and triumphs.
And maybe it also represents the future, the hope for progress.
Absolutely. It's about looking back and looking forward.
Okay, what about the Union Shield? That one's pretty prominent.
That's a direct reference to the Great Seal of the United States,
Stripes and stars, the whole shebang.
representing unity, strength, a nation coming together,
It makes sense they were trying to establish this new government.
legitimacy, authority. It all had to be communicated,
And what better way than with familiar symbols?
especially during a time of such uncertainty, transition,
So the coins help create a sense of shared identity.
a common purpose, a new beginning.
What about all those stars? I mean, there are a lot of them on coins.
They represent the states, of course.
Makes sense. But are they always just stars? I feel like I've seen them with.
Clouds, that's a common pairing.
Yeah, clouds. What's that all about?
Think of it this way. America was a new nation emerging on the world stage.
Full of hope and ambition, reaching for the sky.
Exactly. The clouds and stars, they represent that aspiration.
A visual metaphor. I love it. Are there any symbols that,
Represent the American people themselves.
yeah, their character, what they stand for?
Well, there's the oak branch. It's often featured.
The oak, that's a strong tree, right?
Strength, resilience, it embodies the spirit of the people.
Overcoming challenges, just like an oak weathering a storm.
Exactly. It speaks to their determination, their independence.
And what about the olive branch? We talked about that with the eagle.
A symbol of peace, diplomacy, that's right.
But the eagle also has arrows, so it's kind of a mixed message, isn't it?
Not really, it's about balance, remember? The desire for peace?
But also the willingness to fight if necessary.
Precisely. Strength doesn't always mean aggression.
It's about choosing your battles, using your power wisely.
And the eagle, with its olive branch and arrows, it captures that perfectly.
One last symbol before we wrap things up. E pluribus unums.
Ah, a classic. Out of many, one.
Ah, I've seen it on so many coins. What's the significance?
It embodies the idea of unity amidst diversity.
A nation formed from many different states, cultures, backgrounds.
All coming together, united under a common banner.
A powerful message, especially for a nation built on immigration.
It's a reminder that our differences make us stronger.
That's a great note to end on. We've learned so much about U.S. coins.
From chaos to order, from Lady Liberty to hidden symbols.
It's amazing how these tiny pieces of metal tell such a big story.
A story about America, its history, its values.
The next time I see a coin, I'm going to look at it differently.
Look closer. You'll be surprised at what you find.
They're not just money, they're little pieces of history.
And who knows what stories future coins will tell.
What symbols would you choose to represent America on a new coin?
That's a great question. It makes you think, doesn't it?
What images, what ideas would capture the essence of the nation?
Maybe our listeners have some ideas. We'd love to hear them.
And in the meantime, keep exploring. The U.S. Mint website is a great resource.
It's full of fascinating information about coins, their history, their meaning.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the history of U.S. coins.
It's been a pleasure exploring with you.
Until next time, keep those coins jingling and those minds curious.